Ladies and gentlemen, it's 6 o'clock, but one of our commissioners isn't here yet, so we're going to give him a couple minutes to see if he makes it, and then we'll get started. Good evening and welcome to the February 21st meeting of the City of Vista Planning Commission. Would you all please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Grimm.
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one
Thank you. Ms. Leahy, roll call, please.
Chair Rossler,
Here?
Vice Chair Grimm,
Here.
Commissioner Aguilera, Commissioner Garrettson,
Here.
Commissioner Hastings,
Here.
Commissioner Looney, Commissioner Savage,
Here.
Student Commissioner Childs, Student Commissioner Herrera.
Very good. Commissioners, you've been provided with the minutes from our February 7th meeting. If there are no changes, can we hear a motion to approve? Commissioner Grimm.
I move approval.
All right. Commissioner Looney.
Yes, I'll second.
All right, Commissioners, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of our February 7th meeting. All in favor, cast your vote and lock it in. And the motion passes 5 to 1 to 1. Commissioner Savage was absent, and so he has to abstain. Very good. Next item on our agenda is changes to the agenda. Ms. Chow?
Good evening, Chairman Rossler. The change tonight is PH2, which is P22-0282, is the Cancho Housing Project. The project has been pulled from the agenda. It will be renoticed for a later date when it comes back before you. And we also sent out notices to the community to inform them so they wouldn't be here tonight. Hopefully, nobody in the audience is here tonight, and be notified through e-blast and mail out notices as well. So that's the only change. So we'll be moving the third item to second position.
Very good.
Thank you.
Anyone here tonight for the Keisho Housing Tideland Partners project? Very good. The system worked then. All right. Next item on our agenda is oral communications. This is a time that the commission sets aside for members of the public to address the commission on items that are not on our agenda. You need to fill out a speaker slip, and I have none, so anyone wishing to address the commission? Very good. Then we'll move on to our public hearings. The order of our public hearing will be as follows tonight. We'll have a staff presentation. The applicant will be afforded some time to add to that presentation or answer questions. We'll open it up to the commissioners for commissioner questions of staff or the applicant. I will then open the public hearing. I'll call names that I've received on speaker slips. If you wish to address the commission, you need to fill out the slip so I can call on you. And then when we're finished with the speakers, I'll close the public hearing and open it up for discussion and a decision amongst the commissioners. Our first public hearing tonight is P220401, Smoke Shop, OTS Vista. It's the applicant, and Ms. Chow, your staff report, please.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Rossler, Commissioners. Good evening. I'm Patsy Chow. I'm Deputy Director of Community Development, City Planner, here before you with this particular item, PH1, which is the proposal for a smoke shop. And the proposed project is a request for a special use permit for a smoke shop in an existing commercial building that's located at 1745 East Vista Way. It would be particularly suites 3, 4, and 5. The smoke shop will be occupying approximately 2,300 square feet of an existing commercial building. There will be required total of 26 parking spaces, where 32 are existing right now at the subject parcel. The way we calculate the parking, it's 1 per 250 square feet of commercial area, and that's basically taking the commercial building square footage total divided by 250. That equates to 26 approximately, rounding up to required parking spaces for the site. There would be proposed tenant improvements, the changes to the floor plan that would be modified for the proposed smoke shop use. The proposed hours of operation are Monday through Sunday, 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. And the sale of the items that would be at the particular store will be actually what's covered under the definition of a smoke shop per code as far as smoking-related products, rolling papers such as water pipes, but they would also might be selling T-shirts, snacks, food items, and beverages, which are actually prepackaged items, and there will be no sales of alcoholic beverages at the proposed smoke shop. This is an aerial photo showing the existing uses at the site, which is the red area identified on this aerial. It's zoned C1, which is the basic commercial zone, and is also accompanied by a land use designation or a general plan of general commercial GC. And it's surrounded by commercial uses to the north, south, and across the street to the west of the proposed project site. This is just another aerial photo showing the uses, the commercial uses to the north. There's a car wash there. Across the street, a gas station. To the south, other commercial retail, restaurant uses, general commercial uses. So the site plan shows in red the proposed scope of work area with a red arrow pointing down, basically at that particular corner as in the L-shaped building. So that's where the proposed suites 3 through 5, where the smoke shop would be proposed at. And to the right of it, there's an existing cannabis dispensary that is actually owned by the same proponents of the smoke shop. And there's a hair, beauty or hair salon in the same center as the existing, at the proposed smoke shop. It's actually to the left of it. And there's existing parking and landscaping as it's shown on the picture. So the floor plan identifies basically the display cases where the counter space will be at, along with there's a break room, a storage space, the proposed or the existing restrooms, I should say. And the products will actually be kept in either the glass display cases, as it's shown here on the slide, or they'll be on racks that will be behind the front counter, and they will only be accessible by the authorized personnel. As I was mentioned before, the landscaping is existing, pretty much what you have on the site there, and there will be some additional pygmy date palms that staff has asked them to install adjacent to the proposed shop, just to kind of fill in the blanks as it exists right now. But for the most part, the landscaping is all there as it exists. In terms of environmental review, the project is categorically exempt from CEQA as far as section 15332, which has to do with infill development project, and the fact that this proposed use is able to meet the 5 infill conditions related to the fact that it will be consistent with the designation policies of our general plan and our zoning ordinance. It will be developed on a site that's no more than 5 acres and pretty much surrounded by other commercial urban uses. But there are no habitat, endangered, rare, or threatened species located on the site. It's a developed site, existing commercial development. The approval of the project would not result in any significant effects related to traffic, noise, air quality, or water quality. And the site be adequately served by required public utilities and services. So as far as the general plan, once again, with the approval of the special use permit for the smoke shop and adhering to the conditions of approval as spelled out in Exhibit A, the project would conform to the general plan. And in terms of our development code, section 1838-020, which requires approval of the special use permit of a smoke shop in the C1 zone, the particular findings for it are found in the resolution as spelled out in the staff report. And also the fact that the smoke shop will not be located within 1,000 feet of a public or a private elementary or secondary school. The nearest school is about 2,100 feet away on Bon Air Road. This pretty much concludes the staff's presentation. The recommendation is to adopt the resolution that would grant the special use permit for smoke shop at 1745 East Vista Way, Suites 3, 4, and 5. And that's pretty much my presentation. Unless you have any questions, the applicant is here tonight, I believe. They don't have a formal presentation, but they are here for any questions you may have. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you. Any commissioners, any questions for staff or the applicant?
I have a question for the applicant.
Okay. Are we Commissioner Grimm?
I had a question. I guess it's either for staff or the applicant. Since the owner owns both the cannabis shop and the smoke shop, I'm wondering, are they each employees, I mean, each group of employees, are they separate to their own shop, or you transfer them around, or how is that going to work?
So they're
If you can pull up the microphone closer to you, please. Thanks.
John Maddox, by the way, representative of the applicant. So there could be some crossover. They'd be employed by separate entities. I think there's some advantages with using some employees to be at the other site. Site familiarity. We've also got security guards on site that would probably flow between both. We've got security monitoring that would be kind of duplicative. But I think the most beneficial thing is this is going to be run close to like the dispensary, 21 and over, so you've got the age verification, standard operating procedures, and the familiarity with that the current staff has next door, which, you know, for 3+ years of operating have never had an issue with. So I think that there's some benefit to using employees, but they will be employed by separate businesses.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of staff or the applicant? Thank you very much. This is a public hearing, and I will open it, and I have one speaker slip for Erica Leary.
Good evening, Commissioners. So my name is Erica Leary. I'm the Program Manager for the North Coastal Prevention Coalition, which works in the cities of Carlsbad, Oceanside, and Vista to reduce the harm of alcohol, tobacco, marijuana, and other drugs. I did send an email to staff yesterday afternoon. I don't know when it got to you. Oh, thank you. So I have been working for over 25 years to prevent youth substance use, and actually we thought tobacco was a problem solved decades ago until the vaping industry came around. And now we hear from students and school personnel that vaping is an ongoing problem. Middle school staff tell us it's a weekly problem on their campuses, high school staff a daily problem. The high-potency products are attractive to kids and get them dependent without them even knowing it. The Department of Cannabis Control, which licenses the cannabis retailers, forbids retailers from selling tobacco products. And the Public Health Law Center that I sent documentation from them recommends minimum distance requirements between tobacco retailers and cannabis retailers. So I would like you to question the public health impacts and reasonableness, sorry, I can't talk, whether it's a good idea to have a cannabis owner own a smoke shop on the adjacent building. And if you do have any questions about that, I would suggest that maybe you pause, and if you do vote no on this application, the applicant can easily file an appeal so that it can be heard by City Council. It's my understanding that the City Council will have an item on their agenda next week talking about tobacco policy and how to address the teen vaping epidemic. So it might be wise to have the council weigh in on this application. I thank you for your time and also can answer any questions if you have them from the information I sent. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Leary. Any questions for Ms. Leary? No. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the commission on the smoke shop application? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and open it up to commissioner discussion. Commissioner Hastings.
So I am not really interested in seeing a smoke shop near a marijuana outlet. I don't think it's a good idea. I'm really concerned about vaping and its effect on younger people. So I think I want to say that, and that for that reason I wouldn't be in favor of having this smoke shop located there.
Very good.
And, one more thing. I was happy to hear that the city council was addressing this issue because I was going to ask if what kinds of regulations there are. I liked the model regulation that was put forward, and I don't know what Vista really has in mind. Just another piece to add to the thoughts.
Very good. Commissioner Garrison.
Yes, what kind of food would they be selling in there? Certainly not any kind of food that was made with marijuana, right? So it would be edibles, just cookies,
Snacks,
crackers,
cookies.
snacks.
Yeah, something that you might see at a convenience store, but nothing with cannabis. Those operations are completely disparate. I think you guys can appreciate cannabis licensure is highly regulated. They do nothing on site that would jeopardize that licensure, so everything would be completely distinct. And yeah, it would, I mean, again, it's 21 and over at the location for the conditions of approval. But yeah, really just snack foods, and I don't even think that would be a high priority on site. It was just posed as a question and said, you know, we'd like to keep that open as a possibility.
Okay, my second question would be, what's the difference between having them next door and having them 2 doors down, or 2 blocks down, or 2 miles down? I don't understand why there's a difference. I mean, what's the objection to having them next to each other? I mean, I would oppose them almost any place, but what difference does it make whether they're next door or down the road?
And I think,
Or a
you know,
smoke shop?
Ms. Leary made some good points, but even the material she provided, I think there's over 75 tobacco retailers in the city of Vista right now. I honestly think that there's some benefits, given the high regulations that we're subject to as a cannabis business and the fact that we're not going to want to jeopardize that licensure. I think some of the materials provided talked about the dangers of Delta H and hemp derivative stuff that's still kind of murky in terms of federal legalization that is being sold at smoke shops throughout the city. There'd be absolutely no selling of that stuff because there'd be no point. We have an ancillary business next door that sells cannabis, so there'd be no point in competing with ourselves to bring in hemp derivative products. So I think there's some safety there. And again, just the heightened security and standard operating procedures that have been developed by, you know, off the charts in their 3+ years of business here.
So would there be increased security because they're next to each other, because you have security systems in both facilities, correct?
Yeah, we already have 2 on guard or 2 on site 24 hours. I mean, the staff did a great job of putting together the conditions of approval. They're essentially asking us to have it secured to the same degree that the state requires of a cannabis business. We need to have 24-hour surveillance. We need to have self-closing, self-locking doors. That surveillance needs to be backed up for 90 days. So, you know, we're probably going to have an additional guard during hours of operations. We already have guards that are patrolling the parking lot. You know, to some of the points about youth exposure, there is nothing within this business park that would be attractive to youth anyways. But yeah, I mean, straightforwardly, there is increased security because of it. There's more monitoring of the entire small strip mall business park, whatever you call it, because of this proposed use.
So you said we're probably going to have another security person.
If it's a condition of use, we will. I think it's really just mostly, you know, figuring out, it's not a condition of use to have an additional security guard on site. Our on site at night is 2, and Roy's here, who's actually a manager of the dispensary, but I think during the day we have upwards of 3 already. So there'd be some overlap in security posts. I think during hours of high traffic, we'd likely have another. We could commit to it if it's a requirement of the approval.
So what I'm trying to get at is, by having these next door to each other and the extra security, are we going to have more spread out security or more intense security for that facility?
Sure. This is Roy. He's the current manager of the dispensary next door, so he's in charge of all security oversight.
So my family owns Off the Charts. So for us, it was more of a benefit for, 1, creating more jobs. Also, 2, I employ about 65 people at my retail. So one thing that I feel like I have an issue with is when it's break time or it's lunch, because not only is this a smoke shop, we also are going to put a break room for my employees. My employees, you know, I don't want to say, they run back and forth across the street because there's a gas station right next to us. So I see this as a bigger picture for us personally. There's stores that sell tobacco. You know, I have 2 armed guards all times, even at night, 24/7 surveillance is around my store. I already have 2 guards. So, and the benefit for us is they're side by side. So if something goes on, there's someone always there. And for me, it's also for my employees. It's something my employees always wanted, because not only is it, convenient from them going back and forth across the street, but it's also a break room for them. So that's my, personal, why I feel like it's great. But security is 21 and older, so it's not going to attract anyone younger to come in. Even if someone wants to come in and buy a soda, I'm not going to allow them. Anyone needs to be 21 and over to show ID before they come in. So,
increased security or
yes,
less security because it's more spread out?
Increased security.
increase security.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Savage?
Oh, there we go. Hi, thank you guys for coming in. Thank you for talking us through all these questions. I do just want to say, I want to confirm with staff first on the expiration of the special use permit. So that's an annual permit. They'll have to come back and renew the special use permit. Am I misunderstanding that?
No, there's no renewal requirement. The special use permit runs with the land if approved by the planning commission and not appealed. It basically is there.
Okay.
Yep.
So just a misunderstanding there. So I just want to confirm that. Okay. And then I just want to say that I really am invested in what you guys are saying about the extra incentive you have. And I think that's really positive. They are tied to something where they have a lot of vested interest in keeping the smoke shop operating correctly. And I've seen a couple smoke shops come through here that have far less incentive to meet the requirements, and they only need to meet the bare minimum. So in terms of a smoke shop coming to us, I think that this is a positive incentive for them because they have so much to lose if they don't meet those requirements. I think they're going to go above and beyond what we require for smoke shops. So that's my perspective on this.
Okay, very good. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Any other comments, commissioners? Commissioner Grimm?
Yeah, I kind of have mixed emotions on this one. I don't like the idea of youth smoking. I don't like the idea of youth using, cannabis. I know there's age restrictions. But I guess maybe this is a question for the city attorney. We have regulations in place, and there's a special use permit required. Is it problematic to actually deny this when they've met all the criteria, or does the special use permit give us enough leeway to do that if we so choose to do it?
So the Planning Commission needs to have substantial evidence and cite that in the record under one of the findings to deny the permit. So you need to look at the resolution in your packet and look at those findings and say, this is the substantial evidence we're going to cite for saying why we can't meet that finding. And that's why we're going to deny in that case.
So in other words, if we do decide to deny it, we need to have some pretty strong findings to,
You need to
based on
point
those,
to,
those
yeah,
five, I guess it was 5 factors in the staff report.
yeah, specific evidence. So you need to, for example, the concern about youth using the smoke products, that alone would not constitute substantial evidence. You'd need to point to why this particular proposed use, with the restrictions that are proposed as part of the conditions of approval, are going to lead to that use you're concerned about. Additionally, I know there's been some discussion about the adjacency to the cannabis use. So we need to keep the focus on the actual land use proposal and the conditions that are imposed, not on the applicant and maybe an adjacent business that they run, because they can sell these businesses. So even though they may say they will do something above and beyond what their application states, there's nothing that will hold that to a subsequent owner. That said, some of your discussion is relevant to conditions of approval that are imposed on that cannabis commercial use. You can see what I'm saying. There's a distinction between, conditions that run with the land that will carry through to a subsequent owner and representations of how they might implement security above and beyond, for example, conditions of approval that are imposed on the property.
Okay, thank you. The flip side of, said I had mixed emotions on it. The flip side is I agree with a number of the things that Johnny said. These guys have, gone through, the legal requirements. They've worked with staff. They've gotten a number of conditions put on it. And if we're really serious about not allowing these things, we ought to do something, in the codes that's maybe more restrictive than that. So, like I said, I'm kind of flip-flopping around here. But if we do approve it, I would like to add something to one of the conditions. There was a condition about having internal and external cameras. And the only thing I'd add, it's kind of small stuff, but that they be kept in working order. That would be the only thing I would add to that condition. That's it.
Maintain. All right. Any other comments? Discussion? Kasan?
Unfortunately, I feel like if kids want to find a way to smoke, they will find a way to smoke. It's kind of like the saying, if there's a will, there's a way. So I feel like not allowing them to open their business would kind of be like, it would be kind of a Band-Aid on a bigger wound, because the only real way that you can prevent teen smoking would be to close all the businesses altogether. So I have mixed emotions on this project too. Obviously, I don't want to see Vista turn into like a lot of smoke shops, but at the same time, it's like we need more jobs, and they're providing jobs. So,
Very good. Thank you. Okay, Commission, what's your pleasure? Well, Commissioner Garrettson.
Yeah, I fought very hard against the cannabis approval, and I'm not a smoker, and I wish we get rid of all of them. But we do have general plan, we do have council-approved zoning, and it seems to me that they're in compliance. So I would move that we approve this with the caveat or the condition of the cameras working and anything else that we might want to add.
Very good. We have a motion. Is there a second? Commissioner Savage?
Yeah, I'd like to second that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second.
Chair Rossler,
Yes.
may I ask for clarification on what Commissioner Green was asking in terms of the surveillance? Was that inside, interior?
I think the condition required both internal and external cameras, if I remember. And my thought is just that, they don't just have cameras that are hanging up there, that they're kept in working order at all times. Yeah, but if they don't work, you're not going to get any playback, so.
I would also like to add that we would require that security is increased, not just spread out.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, and that being on a conditional of approval on the on the special use permit, I think that's good to get on there officially. I agree.
And again, may I ask a clarification? Just on the interior, exterior, there is an existing condition in the Sheriff's Department about installing interior and exterior surveillance cameras. Video surveillance footage shall be retained for up to 90 days. I guess from what I'm hearing from the commission discussion is to make sure that they're in good working order. The other add to that from Commissioner Garrettson, as far as the increased security, can you be more specific about what that means?
well, it would mean that that if they have 2 security guards now, that they have more security than the 2, because if they just have 2, that just spreads them out and makes the place less secure, makes both places less secure, in my opinion. So
So we just have to clarify with the applicant What they're existing, okay.
dedicated security for the smoke shop.
For the smoke shop, okay. Thank you.
All right, Commissioners, we have a motion to approve that's been seconded. Please cast your vote. And lock it in. The motion passes on a 4-2 vote with Commissioner Hastings and Chairman Rossler voting opposed. All right. Very good. We will move on to our next public hearing, which is the Wendy's Restaurant at 1230 East Vista Way. Mr. Winters, your staff report, please.
Thank you, Chairman Rossler and Commissioners. We'll have that queued up in just a second here. So this will be our second public hearing item for tonight. This is a request for a special use permit and site development plan to construct a new drive-through restaurant at 1230 East Vista Way. The applicant, John Dodson. The proposed project would involve the construction of a 2,427 square foot Wendy's dine-in and drive-in restaurant that would be constructed within an existing shopping center, which is the Vista Terrace Marketplace, that is located on the northwest corner of East Vista Way and East Beaubier Drive. The project site is currently developed with parking stalls, drive aisles, and landscaping that would be reconfigured for the construction of the proposed restaurant, drive-through lane, new parking stalls, and landscape areas. The new building is designed with a pedestrian entrance to the dining room at the south end of the building, which is frontage towards East Beaubier Drive. The entrance to the drive-through lane is located northeast of the building and would exit towards the south. Parking complies with the development code. The project removes 40 parking stalls for construction of the building and adjacent sidewalks and landscaping. The project would construct 17 new stalls behind the auto parts store and adjacent to the side of the restaurant. In total, there's 204 parking stalls required based on the shopping center's requirement, and 274 stalls are provided. The proposed project, more details regarding the restaurant operation. The dining room hours would be from 6 a.m. to midnight daily. Drive-through service would be from 7 a.m. to 12 a.m. with no use of the speaker system after 10 p.m. as stipulated in the project conditions. The project includes the construction, and that should say, well, I think I got ahead of myself. A 6-foot-high screen wall would be constructed within the new landscape area located north of the drive-through building to screen the proposed restaurant from the day care play area located north of the project site. The existing block wall that is located along the west property line adjacent to the mobile home park would be demolished and replaced with an 8-foot-high block wall for the length of the new development area, which is approximately 177 feet running north and south. And that would provide additional noise attenuation between the proposed use, the existing road noise, and the mobile home park to the west. Regarding land use and zoning, the existing general plan is neighborhood commercial, and the zoning is consistent with that as C1 commercial. This aerial image shows the project site, current development as parking, landscape areas. It's been historically an underutilized area of the shopping center. There's been some nuisance conditions there with cleanup, unauthorized persons on site, dumping of items and so on that have similar things that have been referred to code enforcement. This slide shows the new site plan. The green line on the left-hand side of the site plan highlights where the new proposed block wall would be. And the overall length of that wall is about 20 feet longer, but it drops in height as you get closer to the street frontage with Beaubier. The drive-through lane is located on the north and west sides of the building, and enters from the northeast corner. The dining room is shown at the southern end of the building, where it would have the pedestrian entrance nearest to where the disabled accessible parking spaces are located. And the last bullet point there points to some of the new parking spaces immediately on the east side of the building. Then you would have a 24-foot drive aisle leading to the rest of the shopping center, and new parking spaces would be added, as well as landscaping behind the existing auto parts store. The landscape plan shows what would be proposed as far as trees, shrubs, and ground cover compliant with the city's landscape requirements. The site plan has varied from the original submittal. The building was shifted approximately 25 feet to the south to provide a wider buffer between the drive-through and the daycare area to the north. So with some minor tweaks to the plan, it shifted the building south and provided more landscaping there. The building architecture was redesigned to be consistent with the rest of the shopping center as it was updated approximately 5 years back. So it uses comparable materials as far as the corrugated metal, the concrete siding that's designed to look like wood, and 3 different colors of stucco. Under environmental review, the project is exempt from the requirement to prepare an environmental document under CEQA as an infill development project. The exemption applies to projects that are consistent with the applicable general plan land use and zoning designations for the site. The project note proposes no changes to the zoning or general plan. It applies to projects that are no more than 5 acres in size, that is substantially surrounded by existing urban land uses, sites that have no value as habitat for endangered, rare, or threatened species, and where approval of the project would not result in significant effects relating to traffic, noise, or air or water quality, and where the site can be adequately served by all required utilities and public services. Under land use compatibility, although the project is exempt from further CEQA analysis, early on staff requested that the applicant evaluate potential air quality and noise-related impacts or potential impacts that might be created by the project to ensure compatibility with the surrounding land uses. An air quality technical memorandum was prepared for the project, evaluated potential air impacts associated with the queuing of vehicles in the drive-through lane. The analysis concluded that the project would not result in health impacts at the outdoor play area to the north of the project site or to the mobile home park located to the west. An acoustical analysis prepared for the project evaluated ambient noise levels and the operation of the proposed drive-through, as well as the loudspeaker in the drive-through queue lane. Current ambient noise levels, primarily traffic from East Vista Way and East Beaubier Drive, are significantly higher than what would be generated by the drive-through queuing, either the vehicles or the loudspeaker. The analysis found that there would be no impact. The analysis also noted that the new building and new screen walls would further provide acoustical shielding for the adjacent land uses that would help shield some of the traffic noise that's existing now. A local transportation study was prepared for the project. The project does not generate enough vehicle motor trips that it would have a significant impact on the existing roadways or intersections, so no further traffic analysis was required. A drive-through queuing analysis was also prepared to ensure there would be no impacts to traffic flow on-site or within the public right-of-way. They analyzed a site in Encinitas that's located right next to the 5 freeway, and during various times of day when it was at its busiest usage, on average, there were 2 cars in the drive-through lane. At one peak time, there was 5 cars max in the drive-through lane. The drive-through as designed for this project would accommodate 8 to 9 cars in a minimum. Under public policy consideration, general plan conformance, the land use designation for the site is neighborhood commercial. This designation promotes commercial uses serving residents and businesses in the surrounding neighborhoods. Allowable uses do include eating and drinking establishments, specialty food stores, and so on. With approval of the special use permit and adherence to the project conditions, the project would be consistent with the general plan. Staff's recommendation would be to adopt a resolution granting the special use permit and site development plan to construct and operate the proposed 2,427 square foot drive-through restaurant within the existing retail shopping center addressed as 1230 East Vista Way, parcel number 173-050-46. Staff has a recommendation for 2 additional conditions of approval. One, that a sign would be placed adjacent to the drive-through lane requesting that customers be courteous of the residential neighbors and keep any noise levels at a minimum. Second, that the loudspeaker volume in the drive-through lane would not exceed the maximum sound pressure identified in the acoustical analysis that was done for the project. That concludes staff's report, and staff and the applicant are here to answer any questions.
The applicant doesn't have a presentation?
No presentation from the applicant.
Very good. Any questions, commissioners, of staff or the applicant? Commissioner Garrettson.
The wall that's going to go, Chris, to the west is going to be 8 feet. How tall is it now?
It's currently approximately 4.5 feet as it steps down from the north to the south.
So it's stepping down toward Bobbier, correct?
As it's currently built, that's correct.
But it will not step down once it's built as proposed? Will it be 8 feet all the way till the end?
Only for the last 20 feet is it proposed to step down to 3 feet in height.
So how does that impact? Is there a mobile home right there where it steps down?
Approximately 30 feet or 40 feet north of East Bobbier, there's the first mobile home in that row. So where it steps down is, I'm just going from my head, about 15 feet south of where that last mobile home is.
So am I hearing that it's actually going to be a lower fence if it steps down to 3 feet and now it's 4 feet?
For that last segment, it's currently about 4 feet, and it's proposed to be lower. That would be consistent with the city's C1 zoning ordinance. In general, we have a requirement for a land use separation of a 6-foot block wall between commercial uses, residential land uses, but our code states that when you get up near the street frontage, it's preferred to step down so that you don't have a 6 or 8 foot wall right adjacent to a sidewalk.
It's for sight distance for traffic coming in and out of being able to see up and down the street.
So as far as that first home inside the mobile home park, the fence between them and the proposed development is going to be lower than it is now?
It would be taller, it would be 8 feet.
But you said it's being stepped down.
That's correct,
3
south of
feet.
that home.
How far will it be stepped down? From 8 feet to 3 feet? How much of distance?
20 feet is proposed.
So that would mean that that house or that home that's right there will have a lower fence to protect them from noise than the existing one.
It is. Sure. The home would be located behind the 8-foot portion of the wall. I have a few site photographs that might help show what I'm talking about here. This slide shows the overall site looking towards the west. If you look at the exit on the left-hand side where the row of mobile homes is, there's some tall shrubs and a drainage channel on the adjacent property. The lower 3-foot wall height would be in that area. The 8-foot height would begin approximately where the edge of that home's patio is on the south side of that residence.
Okay, that answers my question. Thank you.
Very good. Any other questions of staff or the applicant? Very good, thank you. This is a public hearing. I do have speaker slips. Gary Jacobson, followed by Marina Small.
Hi, everybody. I'm Gary Jacobson. I have a restaurant in the complex of Cocina del Carmen. And currently, I didn't get the whole thing, but I read it outside, the vehicle traffic thing. Currently, there's a traffic problem already. I think this is going to increase the problem. If you can see there right where you're talking about that wall, where it comes out right there, across the street, you can see there's another driveway that goes into the Northgate Shopping Center right there. So right now, there is not a left turn lane coming on either direction. And I've many times almost got in accidents right there because somebody's coming from East Vista Way going towards Northgate, and I'm coming from Oceanside coming to the restaurant, and you're meeting in the middle of the yellow lines, in the middle of Beaubier. I believe that maybe it looks like you need to do a little bit more of the vehicle, the VMT, the vehicle motor traffic report needs to be maybe looked at a little bit more deeply. That is a dangerous area. There's poor lighting. At nighttime, when you're making a left turn in there, there's no lights. It's hard to tell if a car is coming from East Vista Way towards you as you're making a turn into that driveway. I'm not sure if that really affects this particular project or if that's something the city needs to look at separately. But it is a concern for me, is I have family that work at the restaurant and customers that are driving in and out of that area. I do believe that some kind of a left turn lane there going into Northgate and into that driveway there that's adjacent to the wall should be looked at. And that's my concern.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Winters, did our traffic engineer take a look at this application?
Yes, the traffic engineer he reviewed and approved the plan as far as not requiring any additional conditions or changes to the entry and exit at the south end of that shopping center. He did evaluate it to see if something different should be done to restrict left turns, but based on current traffic levels, I did not recommend anything at this point.
Mr. Conley?
Chairman, this is an existing problem. It may be exacerbated by the restaurant, but nonetheless, it's an existing problem.
Right.
So I will talk to our traffic engineer. We can look at the striping configuration on Beaubier for those two turn lanes and see if there's not an improvement that we can require the city to make in the future.
Very good. Thank you. All right. Marina Small?
Hi, my name's Marina Small, and I reside at the Vista Royal Lodge Mobile Home Park, and I am here to represent all the members that signed the petition. You should have a copy of my previous letter, so I'd like to focus today on how the shopping center negatively affects the park homeowners. And when I mean shopping center, I mean from corner to corner to corner to corner.
Ms. Small, let me stop you right there. You understand that the entire shopping center is not up for discussion tonight?
But I am focusing on, I do, but
Okay.
in the previous constructions was where I feel we were failed.
Okay,
So
all right.
they've had the Sprouts construction, they've had the middle portion, they've had the Dunkin' Donuts, and so all those put together, I feel that the residents of the mobile home were failed. So life before Sprouts was quiet and serene. Life after Sprouts has been plagued with noise and lighting pollution. The nearby residents are not adequately protected by the noises due to the fact that there is no sound wall. A wall was placed directly behind the Sprouts, but unfortunately, most of the noise and lighting come from the parking lots, all the parking lots. Since the Sprouts was open, the alleyway behind the Sprouts Center, that strip of land that you see between the two, has become a major thoroughfare. That corner, I walk that every single day, my dog. I'm hit on a weekly, but not almost hit, on a weekly basis, turning that corner to go down that alley. It's very dangerous, exactly what Gary said, very dangerous. The trucks use that thoroughfare to get to Sprouts. They come down in the middle of the night, 3 p.m., whatever. It's very, very noisy and busy. The lighting, all back there, I have pictures, is not good. And the ones that are there shine right in all those residents' neighborhoods. All these complaints could have been severely diminished or alleviated had the city done their job and required that wall. And I feel as a resident, an adjoining resident, that having a wall built from corner to corner is not that much to ask for to protect the residents that live there. It's very dangerous there, very, very dangerous. And this is the view I get from my front door. My front door. When you come up to my house, this is what I see. The back of that shopping center. The wall that separates the two all the way down crumbles several times a year. Several times a year. There's been complaints.
All right, thank you. Patty and Samuel Pastella? Close enough?
Close enough.
All right.
My name's Patty Pastella. I'm also a resident of the mobile home park back there. And everything Marina said is right. And that thoroughfare, I walk my dogs to all the time. And it's almost impossible. They go through there, and nobody pays attention. You're almost hit all the time. And this is only going to exacerbate this problem. The lights that come through there, the smells from the store, things like that, we see it, we smell it, we see the lights, we hear the traffic all the time. It's only going to exacerbate this even more. You're going to have a drive-through all different times of the day and night. You know, this is a retirement community, so it's quiet. The people there are there all the time. It's not like, you know, a lot of people don't work and stuff like this. So this is going to impact them on a daily basis. There's, I believe, a 10-foot wall partially behind Sprouts. This wall should go at least from corner to corner and match that wall so that, you know, I understand this is a business and we want the tax dollars and we want Vista to do well, but we have to look out for the residents as well. And is a retirement community, and it needs to be looked at like that, and it needs to be protected. Thank you.
Very good. And Leonore Zorwell?
Hi. I live at the park as well.
Could you pull the microphone down towards you?
Yeah, way down.
Sorry.
I have some questions that are going to sound like questions, but they're concerns. You have maybe the paper in front of you that I gave to Mr. Winters. My first question is, why hasn't a sound wall been previously erected as this property was being redeveloped or developed? Because that's part of, let me get it right. The statute, the LUCI, is that it, Marina? 3.3, which says that if any property is being developed and it backs up to a neighborhood, that it's not just new when a new thing comes in, it's when even remodeling is being done. I don't understand why the city at that time, because there had to be permits or something that you gave permission to remodel and re-improve, add different businesses, why we weren't protected then? Why has it come to this point to get a sound wall that just simply affects all of us? That's a question. It's a rhetorical question. Why was the strip center allowed to remodel in light of this statute or law or rule or whatever you call it? Mr. Winters suggested that all of the appropriate Studies have been done for air pollution, noise pollution, increased traffic, attractive nuisance. What if they've been calculated wrong? How do you close a Wendy's when you just opened it? What if it does cause way more traffic? I live in the park. My husband goes to the gym that's right there. He walks just out of the one into the other. He has been almost hit so many times. This isn't late at night. This is in the middle of the day. That fence is a nightmare. It's crumbling. It's horrible. What is our recourse if these calculations are wrong? If there is huge noise pollution, if there's auto pollution, if there are wrecks?
Your 3 minutes are up. So summarize for us quickly.
I believe that it's the owner's duty to protect us in the neighborhood with a fence, a sound wall of 8 foot going through the whole back of that center to the street, and I would be absolutely opposed to the Wendy's if this isn't done first.
Okay.
Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you. All right, that is the end of the speaker slips I have. Anybody else wishing to address the commission? Okay, hurry. No? All right, Mr. Winters, seems to me that I remember when the Sprouts came through for their approval, we discussed sound, noise, we discussed light pollution. I remember there was a photometric analysis done that said that there wouldn't be any light reflecting off-site. We have a code enforcement problem here, or it's beyond the scope of the application for Wendy's to fix these things, if I understand right.
Thank you, Chairman Rossler, and that's correct. There were a number of code enforcement issues that were raised to our attention and since then have been referred to code enforcement. One of those primarily being late night or early morning deliveries that don't coincide with the conditions of approval that were applied to the Sprouts. So that's definitely something code is looking into at this time to see if they're abiding by their conditions as far as their hours and having trucks there during the early morning hours when they're not authorized to be making deliveries. Other issues raised had to do with trash cleanup in some of the landscape areas and other nuisance issues. As far as lighting, they have to comply with their photometric plan, which there is maximum and minimum levels for on-site and over the property line lighting levels. However, in these areas like this that are adjacent to primary corridors, there tends to be higher ambient light levels across the property line. So what the project would be responsible for is to not exceed 1/4 of a foot candle beyond the property line or existing ambient light levels. If they put up any lights on Sprouts that were exceeding those levels for any reason, it could be something that code enforcement could look into.
Okay, very good. Or public hearing's closed, sorry. All right. Commissioner Garrettson, did you?
Have a question? Yes.
Yes.
Who's responsible for maintaining that wall? It's crumbling. Who's responsible to?
Currently, it would be the property manager.
Is there something that code enforcement could look into as far as that's concerned as well?
Assuming that it's the applicant's wall, we do have.
Let me address the wall real quickly. So We looked at the wall when Sprouts came in, and we're looking at the wall when Wendy's came in. We did not have a discretionary approval at hand for the remodel of the shopping center. So the remodel of the shopping center was done through a permissible process that the city had no ability to impose new conditions on. The building that's there was remodeled that faces that wall in the back. They didn't change it or expand it. They changed some of the buildings in the front, which were on separate parcels. But we did not have a project that allowed us to increase the height or fix the wall behind the building as part of the remodel. The only opportunities that we'd had to impose new conditions for the wall were on Sprouts property, which was required, and on Wendy's property, which is being required tonight. But unfortunately, because it's a privately owned wall, we didn't have a discretionary approval that affected that larger building. We never had the ability to impose a condition to improve that wall as part of the earlier project. So we were somewhat limited at the staff level in doing that.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Hastings.
About the wall, so the 20-foot wall part is only along the piece that will be directly affected by Wendy's?
Good evening. My name's John Dodson. I'm with RMA Davis New Architects, 1330 Olympic Santa Monica Boulevard. I'm the architect for the project. The reason for the reduction of the wall is for the sightline visibility. It's a traffic issue. We'll put that at whatever the city's minimum requirement is. So if it could shift to 15 feet, we'll do that. But the 8-foot wall continues on. And furthermore, I just want to also address the fact, I have my client here, Amir Bukai, who is purchasing the property. So that's the only place we can do anything, which is we're going to build 157 feet of wall. And if we can increase that, the 8-foot wall furthermore, our concern is we have to have visibility because if people are coming out, you can't have an 8-foot wall on the corner. So that was the intent there. And we did design it so that the wall blocked the entire, all of the homes. And the acoustical engineer analyzed it, said it would provide for a 10 decibel drop in sound, which is about 50%. It would feel like a 50% drop in sound. So that's what we did.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My question was about the entirety of the wall, not the drop. It would be nice if you could make that whole long wall nice and 8 feet, but.
No, the beyond, I can't
I know.
near
I
the,
get it.
yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
Otherwise I would have. It's easier to build.
Commissioner Savage.
Yeah, so just to confirm, the end of the property that's being purchased is that 157 linear feet of wall. That's the end of what you guys are allowed to affect.
Correct, that's our property.
Okay, so my only concern would be that it would seem like the sound would travel at an angle in that direction, and so it would almost make more sense to get it over to the edge of this next building here, if they were allowed onto the next property. But I don't know what the legalities of that would be. But
The wall does go beyond the drive-through lane, which is the concern.
Okay.
Because the drive-through lanes would be generating the noise.
Okay.
So it does, if we could pull up the site plan. So you can see the green line, see that we pushed, as Chris mentioned, we pushed the building down, so it's the cars coming in, you're about 20 feet or so of wall to the end of that drive-through lane. So it helps.
Yeah, it seems like.
And the other thing we have is a 6-foot wall to screen us from the playground, and that's going to help a bit too.
Yeah, no, I mean, just from the footprint change, it feels like you guys have really taken into account the sound.
Yeah.
So.
And the other thing that we always do, or we did in this case, is we made the point of having the drive-through menu boards and order boards facing towards, that's why we have the 6-foot wall, but facing towards the center as opposed to having it on the drive-through side. And another thing that I'd like to note, we put the trash enclosure in front of our building as opposed to putting it on the alley so that the trash trucks will be on our property and won't be going up and down that lane. And we took a considerable amount of time to design the site, lay it out, and we've been working with staff on this project for, I think, 1.5 years now.
Wow. Thank you. I mean, it looks like you guys took a lot of consideration in this, and I know what time that takes, and I appreciate that.
Commissioner Garrettson?
Chris, could you go back to the previous slide? Just a quick question. That one. So the wall will go to here or to here?
Lower, around there.
There. So it will be
Go to
there.
where the playground starts.
Where's the playground?
It doesn't exist in the picture.
Okay. So the wall protects 3 houses, but not the 4th.
It protects that, it's on our property, yes. But you have the school there with the playground now, so that probably provides some protection acoustically at night, not during the day when the children are there.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, no. Any other questions, commissioners? I have one question for you. Chris, could you pull up the elevations, please? My only concern about your restaurant, and it's kind of, I don't know, a minor deal, but the red wall with the Wendy's on it, it's a wall. Dutch Brothers came through a couple weeks ago, and they had a tower element. Any chance of getting you to build a tower element instead of a red wall?
The blade element is part of the design of Wendy's. It's part of their image, so it's something that they really are beholden to.
Okay.
That's my...
I would just tell you that the previous, a long time ago, the former planning director of the city didn't allow Pizza Hut to have a red roof on their Pizza Hut. So anyway, that's another discussion.
I would like to say this is not a standard Wendy's building. We spent, again, time trying to incorporate elements, not only the materials, but design elements from the center, and then we've broken up the facade so we could get the blade. We'll give you that.
I appreciate it that it does match the rest of the center, and I thank you for that. So, all right, Commissioner Grimm.
I had the same concern as Commissioner Rossler. And basically, if you look at the upper left elevation, basically that's just a parapet wall that basically is designed to put a sign on. And it becomes really, in my mind, a roof sign rather than a wall sign. And I'm not sure quite what to do about it, whether you lower the wall, whether, as Rick suggested, I don't know what the expense would be to build a more of a tower type element so that it actually looks like it's part of the building rather than just a parapet stuck up for sign purposes. So I share the same concern that Mr. Rossler had.
Very good. Commissioners? Any other comments? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
We've had the public hearing. I closed the public hearing. We had commissioner discussion. So what's your pleasure? Commissioner Grimm.
I guess my thought would be to recommend approval of the project as presented with the exception of the parapet wall and have them work with staff to either reduce it or form a some kind of a extended element on it.
The additional conditions that Chris brought up in his...
Yes, and include the additional conditions.
Okay. Commissioner Garrettson?
I second that.
All right. Any further discussion? Commissioner Looney?
Coming back to the red wall, is it the narrowness of the wall that is bothersome?
Yeah.
Okay. What the architect might consider is doing a 6-foot return on each end of that wall to where it, looking at the right side elevation in the upper left corner.
We'll work with staff on it.
Just to do a return rather than have
Do
a
a return or
freestanding
thicken
wall.
it so that it has a little more presence and possibly just lower that blade element slightly.
And keep the red element.
Yeah,
Because
it's
if
a-
you change that color, I think you're gonna, it's gonna lessen the effect that corporate wants.
Correct.
But I think it'll also make it, create a little bit more mass to where it's a little bit more intentional rather than looking at a 12 or 18-inch wide wall. So I think that might, again, add a little bit more bulk to where it needs to be bulky. Usually that has a negative connotation, but in this case, I think it's going to help add some massing that is going to help you.
Yeah, we'll work with staff.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the project with additional architectural on the red wall, plus the additional conditions that were proposed by staff. Kasane, did you have any comments? Okay, very good. Cast your vote then.
Chairman Rossler, there is a malfunction here at this end.
All right.
Could you do a hand vote for me, please?
All right, very good. All in favor of the motion, raise your right hand, please. And the motion passes unanimously. So, thank you. All right, that concludes our public hearings. For members of the public, I would recommend that you stay in contact with staff. There's a code enforcement inquiry that's going on, and the issues that you brought up tonight will be addressed there. We were focused on the Wendy's tonight, and we didn't have the authority to go and deal with the issues that you brought up, but code enforcement does have that authority. So I'd stay in touch with staff and see where that goes. Okay. All right. Next item on our agenda is reports or comments from the commissioners. Any comments from that? Mr. Connolly, you're...
Oh, I had one.
Oh.
Oh, I pushed the wrong button, I'm sorry. I just real quickly, sorry, John, I just real quickly wanted to say to Student Commissioner Herrera, I thought your points on the smoke shop were really pertinent tonight.
Right on. John.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. We will not have meetings in March. We have our March meeting, March 7th meeting is canceled. And on the 21st, we're going to be having meetings, community meetings for the general plan update. And so the staff's going to be involved in those. We won't be able to staff the Planning Commission. So the next Planning Commission meeting, I believe we'll have is April 4th, if I'm not mistaken. The general plan update is in full swing. We're getting started with community meetings. We had a flyer that went out this week that identifies the 4 meetings for our community outreach. We're going to have one in each city council district. So we'll have them in districts 1 through 4 the week of March 20th. So March 20th, 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, we will have iterative general plan update meetings in each council district. We'll make sure you get the information. You're all invited to come. But if you can't, we will also come back to the commission and report out on those following those meetings to give you an update on what we heard and where we're going. There is a mobile home park town hall meeting on Thursday, the 23rd this week from 5:30 to 7 over in the Morris B. Vance Community Room. If anyone's interested in going, just to provide input to some folk to the mobile home park community. hear their concerns about any issues that are affecting their parks, and try to help them with those issues from the council level. And finally, the council approved the skate ramp and mobile shower and laundry items that came before you at the last meeting on February 14th. So those are going to be codified in March. That's all I have.
Okay. When did you say our next meeting would be?
April 4th.
April 4th. All right. Anything else for the good of the order tonight? I've seen none. We will stand adjourned until April 4th then.